Hi, Prosper.
Hi, Prof.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on this Family Medicine in Action in Africa. To all of the participants out there, thank you for joining us. This is a series of videos, of sessions where we interview interesting family physicians who are able to share what family medicine in action is like in Africa. Today we have Professor Dr. Prosper Lutala. Prosper, am I wrong? You're a professor now?
Not yet, Prof.
Not yet. Well, you will be soon. So Dr. Lutala is working in the University of Malawi, but let's talk to him more about him and his background and how he is, what he's doing now. Dr. Lutala, unfortunately, is in Malawi, and his connection is somewhat challenged. So we have decided to switch off video to allow his connection to be a good one. So I hope you'll bear with that. So Prosper, tell us, you come from the DRC. Tell us about your background, where you've trained, and tell us more about who Prosper Lutala is.
Thank you, Prof. I'm Prosper Lutala. I'm originally from Congo, where I did my medical school, and I was graduated in 1995 and started some pediatrics before joining family medicine. And we are part of a joint program between the churches in Congo and Medunsa in South Africa, who started training family physician in Congo in 1997. And in 2003, I was graduated as a family physician. But before that, with the support from the Department of Family Medicine in Medunsa, we started a program in Goma in Eastern Congo as well, which was meant to become a full-time program with support from lecturers and professors from South Africa. And I was heading the program before my graduation at a center called Docs Learning Center, where I was lecturer for 67 years before joining the UN volunteer. And I came to Malawi as a UN volunteer in HIV program, where I worked 9 years. And at the end of my contract, since family medicine was starting in Malawi, I was approached by some colleagues from Malawi to join
Prosper,
them.
before you talk about before you go into what you're doing in Malawi, I think we'll come to that just now. I want to ask you one or two questions about what you just said now. You as a young doctor qualifying, landed up wanting to do a bit of pediatrics, and then you landed up deciding, no, let me do family medicine. Why did you choose family medicine? I mean, you're a smart chap. You could have done any of the other disciplines or specialties. What attracted you to family medicine all the way in DRC?
I think I discovered family medicine, I can say by chance. When I did my part 1 exam in pediatrics, after the exam, I decided to go on leave. I'm coming from the South Kivu province, which is bordering Rwanda. And I was doing my medicine in Lubumbashi, which is close to Zambia. When I went there, it was in 1997. The war started while on leave. And the country was divided in two parts for 2 years. So it was difficult to rejoin my department, my school of medicine in Lubumbashi. And in the meantime, the church received some scholarship for family medicine because we are the first one to be trained in family medicine in Congo. So they said, why will you be waiting for your pediatrics? can you join? Because we have 10 scholarship, but we have only 2 candidates.
Right.
So I accepted, and while in family medicine, I lost interest to pediatrics and decided to continue. But
Okay.
why family medicine? I think
Yes.
I've been working for some years in mission hospitals
Hmm.
where you have to deal with a game of conditions and diseases.
Right.
So by working there, I discovered that family medicine was a bit fitting with what I was doing, and slowly with the holistic approach,
Uh-huh.
with the way to approach the patient, I saw like it was close to my way of living, and
Right.
slowly I got interested in family medicine and decided to stay.
Right. Well, it sounds great. Why do you think that that challenge existed where you discovered it by accident? Do you think that in DRC now things have changed since 2003, since the time you were leading the program and development in Goma? What's changed for family medicine and its presence in DRC? I'm
Okay,
sure
it's
you
now
still
since 2012. I didn't go there, but I'm in touch with some colleagues who are organizing the program.
true.
I think what has been a change, I can, for example, the medical council,
Right.
they are now registered as specialists. I think it is one change, even
Uh-huh.
if it started several years later.
Right.
A second change is about the intake. More and more, we are having interest of young doctors to join
Right.
the program. It's a
Uh-huh.
second change. The third change, we have now at least one university which is organizing a full-time program locally, even if
Right.
there's still some support from faculty in Medusa. I
Right.
think the late Professor Ogubanjo was very involved.
Right.
May his soul rest in peace. He,
Yeah.
up to his death, he was really involved in developing that program. So we
Right.
have a school which has graduated its first student last year. It's also a
Right.
plus.
Yeah.
And slowly, policymakers start knowing about family medicine,
Right.
even though in terms of payment, things are still the same, but there is a good development. We
Right.
started the first year 21 registrar.
Right.
Currently, they are more than 60, 70.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think it is also a plus.
Uh-huh.
And we have already some structures in French which can allow people to join, because some people were just running away from the program because of English, the problem of communication.
Right.
So slowly we are going, and locally we have also a number of lecturers now, even if they are not enough given the size of the country and the
Mm.
population, but things are taking root.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You should share with your contacts in DRC that, given that they are organized in a reasonable number, that they join with Wonka Africa and also with the Prima Famed network to get support. I know Edu Bagueno is part of the Prima Famed Exco, so it sounds great. Wonderful. So, Prosper, tell us, you've moved to Malawi, and you spent initially, you were there as a in terms of more aid sort of work. Tell us more about why you came to Malawi. What was that all about before you got into the university?
Okay, when I was in my program in Goma, in Congo, I received a small scholarship to go and do a training in America at the University of California, San Francisco, in infectious disease with bias in HIV.
Right.
And when I was about to go back, one professor called me to say, I know Congo, I know the problem Congo is going through. There is no, I know the program, HIV program is not well organized.
Right.
Can you look an opportunity to join one SADC country? And the one I can suggest to you is Malawi,
Hmm.
which has a well organized HIV program. So
Right.
when I reached Congo, I don't know I came across an offer. They were looking for supervisors in HIV, the Ministry of Health. I
Hmm.
applied and things great. So I came with in mind to spend a year or two,
Right.
but while here, I was fully involved and I am now in my 15 years in Malawi.
So you really got committed to Malawi.
Yes, I can say that.
True. So you landed up spending almost 9 years in this role or this space. Tell us more about what exactly were the 9 years about in Malawi.
Okay,
Uh,
the first
in
3 years when we
yeah,
reached in Malawi in the past, we used to have 5 zones, which are a group of districts, we call them zones.
right.
So they were needing one supervisor per zone. So they needed 5 supervisors, and we came 9.
Right.
So when we reached, they asked the background. They said for those who have already done 5 years in clinical work,
Ah,
or if they have a postgraduate training, we don't like to misuse them in HIV. We still have great need in district. Can you
right.
go to district, spend some time, when the contract of the first group will be ending, we will call you and you can join the zone. This
Right.
is why when they send me to a district which is bordering Zambia in central west Malawi, where
Right.
I spent the 3 years working like a senior medical officer. I
Right.
was supervising the clinical officers,
Right.
I was fully in charge of surgery, doing some training, on job training. This is why I spent. And after 3 years, they called us at the zone. I was in charge of HIV in 5 districts in
Right.
Central East Zone. Our role was first to assess the human resource,
Uh-huh.
assess their capacity, the need for training, organize the training, assess the stock, do so everything related to stock between the central level and the district,
Right.
and they play the supervision in terms of monitoring and evaluation of the activities, report to the and I think the big part of our work was around training, supervision, stock, forecasting, and so on and so forth. So
Okay.
there I spent 6 years until 2013 when I left the HIV before joining the college.
Right. So your role in that space was much about sort of management, but training. So were you playing a clinical role? Just give us an understanding of your kind of experience. Was very much a clinical role, but with management responsibilities, or was it more manager with a few clinical responsibilities? Can you just flesh out that?
I can say the role was more manager in terms of time management because I had 96 facilities to
Wow,
supervise,
that's a lot.
disseminated in 5 different districts. But
Right.
when I am on the ground, I
Okay.
have to see something on the pharmacy, discuss with the manager, discuss with the district coordinators, and also go to the ward to discuss some
Patients.
difficult clinical cases.
Right.
So the piece of clinical was there, but was more HIV related. It
Wow.
was not really the broad view of family medicine, but it was more focused on
Okay.
HIV.
Well, tell me, so did you find yourself, um, do you think that HIV programs um, are actually undermining the overall care or the overall health system and delivery of good primary health care as you learned in family medicine? What do you think of these vertical programs in Malawi?
Yes, here it is even more pronounced.
Is it?
I think there is an imbalance because I've been working, and since 2013 again, I'm full time in the clinical setting.
Hmm.
I think there is really, in terms of resources, I can feel the way I was in HIV and the way I'm working now as a clinician in a hospital, there is a big difference.
Right,
The
right,
HIV is we fully founded each and everything. It's a matter of discussing with your supervisor,
right.
submitting papers, and the resources are coming, which
Yeah,
is not the case because we can refer a patient who is coming for a bowel obstruction. You don't have suture. There
right,
is a time of stock out. You cannot do anything. You have to send to central level.
right.
It's really, there is a big imbalance.
That's unfortunate. So
And it is
HIV,
more
yeah.
pronounced here because the support from donors is
Mhm.
even more important. Like in 2017, it was representing 64% of the funding in the Ministry of Health is coming from those programs. So
Right.
it's quite challenging.
No, that's true. That sounds, I mean, that's kind of known about Malawi that there is this imbalance. Now, we'll come to the topic you're going to talk about, but what has your experience been of interprofessional teamwork in family medicine? Perhaps you could reflect on the HIV versus what you experience in general care. But tell us about how does the sort of primary care team function? How do you function in the districts?
In the district currently, we have what I can call two teams.
Hmm.
We have a nursing, our three teams. We have a nursing side, we
Okay.
have a public health side, and we have a
Hmm.
clinicians. In the
Right.
clinicians, we have a medical assistant in Malawi setting. We have the clinical officer, who is the equivalent of a clinical associate in South
Right.
Africa, and we have the medical officer, medical doctor, and currently we are coming in our district with a family physician.
Right.
What the first observation I can found is the connection between the three teams. It's like you are working in solo, you are reporting to your direct boss. For us, it's the district medical officer,
Right.
or currently the director of clinical and health services.
Right.
For nurses, it is the district nursing officer, and
Right.
for the public health is the district environment officer. And in terms of opportunities, they are quite different. Even though I am not fully in the Ministry of Health, but I can observe some imbalance between clinicians and nursing, and there is a lot of complaints. It was my first observation.
So you say that again. There were more. What was the impact?
More complaints, like the
More
clinician, they will say no if something is suggested by the nursing side.
ah,
We have a solution directly. Unlike for us, you have to wait, and sometimes there is no solution. This is what they are saying.
okay,
The second is about the work itself.
right,
Currently, with the concept of COPC, data is more important, and even in family medicine,
right,
just to design a care which is based on the needs of population.
right,
But the way the data is handled, it's like it's for public health. The clinician, the nurses, they can go for a meeting. When there is a review meeting, it stops there. But in daily practice, that spirit of looking to data and adjusting what you are doing, it's not there because the interpretation is a problem, the understanding of data is a problem, and that culture is not yet
right,
in people.
right.
This is why we kept on discussing how best we can bridge the gap
Uh-huh.
between those three sides. And during our postgraduate review meeting, undergraduate first, we came with some suggestion.
Before you get
We said,
there, Prosper, before you get there, I think, and you're going to talk about it quite extensively, can you give people on the webinar a brief understanding of how the health system works, starting from the patient on the ground, how they enter, what their first contact care is, etc., and then at least people will be able to understand. I think you've already talked a bit about the three different groups, but if you don't mind, how do patients move through the system?
okay, thank you. The patients from the household, the first point of contact is the health center. The health center, which is under the medical assistant, what we call medical assistant, is someone who did 2 years post matric with 18 months of internship. He has a certificate in clinical medicine. He is there in charge of the health center, plus some nurses. After the health center, if there is a need, is referred to the district hospital. And sometimes in some catchments, there is also the community hospitals as well as the mission hospitals. And from community hospitals, it goes to the district hospital.
Oh, okay.
From the district hospital, we have in the country 5 central hospitals, one in the north, sorry, four referral hospital, one in the north, one in the center, one in the eastern, and one, the biggest, in the south region, which is also the biggest teaching hospital for the College of Medicine, Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's useful. So, do you all have, and just some clarity, do you all have health posts? Or is the only sort of primary health care the health center?
Unfortunately, they are not well organized.
Right.
We have what we call village clinic, not
Oh,
really health posts,
okay.
which
So you,
are under community health workers.
right,
Here we call them health surveillance assistant.
right,
Those are really for more because those community health being under the public health, they play more the role of public health than the curative. They can
right,
go for contact tracing, they
right,
can be there for TB or some sensitization. And
right.
currently, with the vertical programs, they are doing things like family planning and so on and so forth.
But they're
But the
not linked.
clinical care,
Yeah, they're not
the
linked to
real
the clinic.
clinical care starts at the health center.
Right. So the village clinic or the CHW are not linked to you, the medical assistant at the health center. Do they talk
They
to
are
them
not
or link
linked to
up?
us. We don't know even what is happening there. They
Right.
report directly to the public health.
Right, right. So, and then the other question I have is the nurse in the health center working with the medical assistant, do they do sort of nursing care, traditional nursing care, or are they trained as clinicians as well? How do they function?
Okay, they have a training as clinician because if a clinician is outside, they have some skills to
Right.
run a health center. But in terms of seniority, and they are even more because they have diploma degrees compared to the medical assistant who has a certificate. But in terms of regulation, the seniority is given to the medical assistant or the clinical side.
Right. And they have a diploma, is it?
Yes, the nurses, most of them in health centers, they have at least a diploma.
And the medical assistant is a diplomat as well.
No, he has a certificate.
Certificate. Oh,
Because after medical assistant, if you want to become now clinical associate, you have to go again for upgrading for 18 months.
all right. And is that clinical officer, going for further 18 months? Are they mostly at the community hospitals, at the hospitals? They're not.
No, there are many in district hospitals,
Right,
and we are still have even some old who are still in referral hospital, in central hospitals.
right, right. And so the the community hospitals and district hospitals are clinical officers, medical officers, and potentially family physicians as you'll go forward.
Plus also the medical assistant, we have a few of them who are running the outpatient clinics
All right,
under a clinical officer or a medical officer.
right, right. So you mentioned that there were a couple of challenges that the nurses get things resolved, the clinicians don't, in your
Yes,
experience. Why
yes.
is that?
I
What?
think my feeling, because I've worked with my stay at the Ministry of Health, I have a chance to work from health centers. Now
Right,
I know the whole structure, and
right,
I've been called several times to sort out issues.
right,
What I can say just, I think the nursing side in Malawi is quite well organized and well structured, unlike the clinical side. Why I'm saying this, it is more homogeneous compared to the clinical side
right,
because the School of Medicine in Malawi started in 1991, so we have 29 years now. The
uh-huh,
number of medical officers started increasing just recently. When we came here, it was really one or two per district, and the one is busy with administration because newly qualified is running a district, so there is no time to focus on clinical work. So the bulk of work was under the clinical officers. So
right,
with the increased number of medical officers, we are still in a process of acceptance. It is like foreigners are coming
right,
in a field which was occupied by a team. So that acceptance it's coming, but very slowly. So with
right,
that, each and every group is like in a corner.
right,
Medical officers, they consider like their special team. The associate also are a team. The medical
right,
assistants who are called to work in health centers, rural area, they consider very the most neglected. So being divided, it is very difficult to raise voice. This is
Sure.
my reading of a situation.
Interesting, and I'm sure that's a challenge. So, clearly from what you are doing in the university. So, tell us a bit more about the university, your role, and this task. We'll come to the task which you're talking about, interprofessional education. So, you moved to the university. What was, what exactly is in the university? Tell us more about the context you're in the university.
Okay, when I left, I joined the university. We have to start, because before starting a formal postgraduate, there was an undergraduate.
Right.
2, 3 years before starting the postgraduate, I was not yet there, but time to time they used to call me
Uh-huh.
to during the exams for OSCE.
Right.
And when we joined the university, we have to start postgraduate. The first discussion was, can we start in Blantyre or can we go in rural? So all of us, we said, no, we must go where the family physician will be working. So we decided to join a district which has been used by the university for several years as a research site for public health.
Uh-huh.
So we found the infrastructure, but the first experience was acceptance. And I still keep in mind the first day we came, talking to the management, said, are you training or how can you train a medical doctor in a district? It was a question which was raised with the then district nursing officer. So we have to go through a long explanation, but it was not really understood.
Mm.
And later on, we came. The experience is what we are there. We have to teach, for exam management to the student. They have to attend some meetings just to get accepted to sit in the meetings of a hospital. It took us almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So we went through a lot. But in this, we were just learning, reflecting, and try to find a way through. And
Yeah.
here we are. Currently, I can say there is a slight good collaboration, but we are still working on.
Right.
About the university also, the second problem was now under which school we have to be.
Right.
We started as a unit within internal medicine before I joined. My colleague who was there was in internal medicine, but family physician as a unit of internal medicine. And when we joined, we sat down and say, if we continue to be a unit, it will be difficult for us. Can we join public health? Since we are not clinicians, it will be easy for us to get a full department. And when we'll be under a department, we can organize ourselves and see maybe in future we can still collaborating with the medical part, the medicine, but being under public health.
Right.
And we have already some experience. We know it's not advised, but we'll be in the district, but the administration can be run under public health. And
Right.
not being in the same field, maybe we will have the hands free. And we
Yeah.
decided, and currently we are under the School of Public Health and Family Medicine. And when we
Right.
started the postgraduate, we started as a full department until now.
Right. Well, that
The
sounds.
other problem we got was the problem of recruitment.
Hmm.
In Malawi, the big provider of registrars candidates are either the Ministry of Health or the mission hospitals.
Uh-huh.
When we started, we got three candidates, two candidates from Ministry of Health, and we decided also to recruit an assistant lecturer which is a training post at the college, and we started with 3 candidates. The progress has been there, but is quite slow in terms of intake. But we cannot expect much because we don't have many free doctors out there. And we hope slowly we start having some application from outside. But we are hoping that family medicine will grow slowly, and probably it may change the the face of primary healthcare in Malawi, even though we are still having the problem, because according to the regulation in Malawi, when you are graduated as a specialist, and this is the problem we are having with our first candidate who graduated recently, you are appointed P4 grade in the Ministry of Health, which is a very senior post. But those P4, if you are clinical, there is no P4 post in the district, and they are strict. What they did was to appoint her again in a central hospital. So what we are doing now is to try to discuss, negotiate, to see if they can accept to be appointing them in the district, and with a decentralization policy, probably they can attract a big number of candidates and be active. And change the system from the district instead of losing time at the central hospital.
No, it sounds like you're having the same growth pains that, even in South Africa was there perhaps 10, 15 years ago. So it's a process which you'll have to go through, getting acceptance, etc. But I think that from what I can see, you've made some very, very good strategic decisions, how you locate your training, how you locate yourself, and how astute you are to the sort of various sources of fragmentation, and keeping your eye on the quality of care. So tell us a little bit about tell us a little bit about COPC in Malawi. What are you all trying to do there?
COPC in Malawi is still very, very, very new and very, I can say, young. So we started the concept of COPC in 2016. But when we started, it was really for academic reason. We said there is no way to be training our students at the district or in clinical setup without seeing what is happening outside. And my first decision, because I've been the past 6 years in charge of this campus, which is training postgraduate students, was to say, can we start by exposing them to something which is like a COPC? So we sent them to Pretoria. They met Prof. Igo. It was the time also they were really busy with implementing COPC. They saw just for a week what was happening and they came back. But when they reached here, a second problem appeared because there was no interest. We are an heterogeneous group. Some of us were not accepting the concept. We were pushing, but not being in position. We started something. We said, okay, I chose the health center, which is also very well known by the college, and we start going there, divide the catchment in villages, planning to distribute the villages among the registrars, and we start visiting the health center. I remember even Prof. Jan Cooper came here as an external examiner, and Prof. Igo. They gave me some ideas about the way I could go with. But we reached a time whereby there was really a tension and we stopped first. And after changing the leadership, we restarted again. But what I can say currently, what we are doing, we have given health centers to registrars. We have a program whereby they are going every Friday. They do a we do a briefing, and every 2 weeks they have to go to with a faculty. They work at the health centers. If there is a problem to sort out in the community, from there they can go with a medical assistant or a nurse to sort out the problem. And this is where we are. What I can say briefly, we are still working on, but what was very encouraging is the Ministry of Health is interested, but they want to see a really case they can replicate in other districts countrywide.
Right.
So we are hoping that family medicine will strengthen what we are doing currently, and they can send people for learning purposes and see how best it can be replicated elsewhere. But as a concept, it is in the strategic plan of the Ministry of Health, but on the ground, there is only one NGO in the southeast, Neno, an American NGO where Dr. Dooley, another family physician, is working. This is where really COPC is well developed because it assisted them to even to integrate care. They are doing it is really a model. And
Wonderful.
they've published quite a lot regarding COPC.
Right.
We will try to learn from them, but due to resources, we said their model could not be applied to us because as of now we are working with peanut. We cannot copy a model which is quite complicated and apply here, but it is really a case for Malawi. Currently, this is the only COPC which is very active on the ground.
Oh, it sounds great. Well, I think it's good going, and I think that you'll have an example of something good in the country is only going to grow this idea, which is great.
Yes.
Let me
Oh,
ask this
yes.
question. Evaristo asks from the audience, how many, I think what she's talking about is postgraduate. So how many students, postgraduate students have you all qualified so far in family medicine in Malawi?
So we started as I said, with 3 students. I
Right,
can say currently one has been graduated, one is waiting for graduation, and the
right.
second one will sit the part of the written exam as well as the research. She will submit
Right.
the research currently. So I
So,
can say only two.
okay, so you only started in what, 2016, or when did you join the University Malawi? 20?
It was in November 2014.
2014. Okay, so it's pretty new. It's not that long considering your course
Yes.
is about 4 years.
Yes, it is a 4 years course
Oh,
with an exam in between.
right.
After 2 years, they pass an exam, and the final exam is after 4 years.
And you do still teach undergraduates and get involved in some of their teaching processes around family medicine. Do you do any other training that you're involved in, like the medical assistant, clinical officer? Are you related to that training or link up to it? Perhaps
Okay,
you can talk about that. Yeah.
currently family medicine is taught in 1 year in undergrad MBBS undergraduate.
Uh-huh.
It's just in fourth year medical school,
Right.
and we are fully involved. We have one one of our colleagues who is supervising the program,
Right.
and we are collaborating with 5 sites where we used to send our students
Right.
for, they are allocated in 5 sites. And so far, it has been a success story.
Wonderful.
Regarding now the training of family physician, this is where the piece of collaboration is coming in. As
Yes.
of now, we are not training clinical officer formally. Even
Right.
though during the allocation in the district, we are asking questions to, we are supervising them, working with them hand in hand, and trying to contribute to their training.
Right.
But during our review meeting, we said there is a way to have a bridge with the school, the College of Health Science, which is the college under which medical assistants and clinical officers have been trained so far.
Right.
There was one resolution to say, can we go and meet the principal of that school so we can get a kind of time, do like our friend in HIV, because when I was in HIV, we used to do that. They have a pre-service training.
Right.
So our idea is to do a pre-service training, orient lecturers, and be having a time for pre-service training whereby we teach them about the basics of family medicine and how collaboration can happen down there. Because we say it, for those who are already on the ground, they will appreciate with time based on what we'll be doing. But those who are still in training, we need
Yeah.
to approach them. So when they will be coming on the ground, they have already an idea of the kind of cadre they will be meeting on the ground and what they can expect from them.
So tell us, Prosper. We want, and I'm sure we'll carry on until you feel you've exhausted it. But tell us about your idea of growing new family medicine programs through interprofessional education in districts.
Yes, my idea is, I can say, is focused on few points.
Mhm.
The first one is if there is a need to train family physician, to link family physician with the cadres who are working in the district, other than medical doctor, it will be really because we are serving the same people, we are
Mm,
doing the same things, but there is no place where we are meeting
mm.
to prepare what we'll be doing tomorrow
All right.
or to reflect on what we are doing today. And this is why the first point I think, if there can be a kind of training, because all, be it medical doctors, clinical officers, medical assistants, or nurses, the first place of work is the district,
Mm.
the first destination. I
Right.
can be in a central hospital, but I have some story about the district. Why
Uh-huh.
not organize a kind of interprofessional curriculum in which we'll be training people what what is the setup of a district, what are the constraints of a district, what are how best we can improve what we'll be doing in the district, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The second way I thought it was to be organizing a kind of conferences, short course, a 2 days around some lunch, you drink and
Mhm.
discuss about really what is happening. You call the students, you call some senior nurses, some nurses in charge, we call those who are still just starting the career so they can come and share experience
Mm.
just to give the best way to attract people to rural areas. It was
Mhm.
the second thinking.
Okay.
The, the third one I think we have to see our best to do a kind of a joint continuing professional development. We
Right.
have a nursing college, a council. We have a medical council. When we are doing our CPD, it's like each and every group is more concerned about the professional body, his own professional body.
Mm.
But the professional bodies are there out in Lilongwe. We are in Mangochi, dealing with our people. How best we can get the joint CPD instead of saying Thursday is for clinicians, Tuesday is for nurses,
Right.
organized separately. But when we meet in front of maternal death, we are there together to deal with the maternal death.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'm not sure how best it can be done. We are thinking maybe with time, if a Department of Family Medicine can think a lot to see how best they can develop an interprofessional curriculum in which people will be doing a kind of postgraduate or even graduate qualification in family medicine. I don't know what will be the name,
Mhm.
but we can set a minimum to say for those who have a degree, they can do something and become a bit of family nursing, family nurse, family clinicians. They
Right.
are really within the philosophy of family medicine, but they are not doing, they are not medical doctor.
Right. Interesting. That sounds very, very good. I must be honest. So are those the four principles, four ideas behind your program?
Yes, the first one about the training, the CPD,
Right.
is not yet fully, but we have some colleagues from America.
Right.
We are working with a NGO which is called SEED.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us some funds to be
Okay.
training students
Okay.
who are as well as intern. Every
Right.
Tuesday, they have a kind of CPD based on what is going on in the hospital to
Right.
discuss really and to be taught about family medicine, about not only family medicine, but about patient, about management, about but common things happening.
Right. Right.
We are uh, we have a second about the sensitization. We are organizing a conference every year in third year medical school because we said family medicine being only in fourth year, they are starting 3 years before, they are not exposed to family medicine. After us, we don't know what will be happening after internship. We are not yet accepted to give in more than 1 year, one class. So what we are doing currently is to organize some drinks, call some students of third year, and one of us go there. Dr. Makwere has been doing it to do a kind of conference orientation in what is family medicine, what we
Right.
expect from them, what are the opportunities in family medicine, a
Okay.
kind of a club just to sensitize. So maybe it may help in future to recruit
Yes.
more doctors who will be interested to stay in family medicine.
True. True. So how long have
And
you been doing this?
the contact with the College of Health Science,
Uh-huh.
the past 10 days up to today, we are in a conference of research in which we invited clinicians as well as nurses, and they
Oh.
approached one of them who happened to be a dean. He's well interested, and he promised to introduce me to the chief executive officer of the college to see how
Right.
best we can start collaborating. But for him, he found that idea of introducing a short orientation of family medicine to future clinical officers. It's a very good idea, and he will support it when I'll decide to go and meet those authorities.
Wonderful. It looks like wonderful work you're doing, Rosper. So
Thank
you've been doing this for how many years, this program, or has that just been part of your family medicine overall? Is this a specific program, or have you just been doing that since 2014 as part of your idea of family medicine?
No, I think the idea started in 2016 after
Uh-huh.
spending 2 years with problems. Every year we used to have a postgraduate as well as an undergraduate a review meeting.
Right,
And during that review, we were just trying to see how best we can overcome some of the challenges we are meeting.
right,
And one way was to think about strategies we can use to approach more the colleagues, mostly the
yes,
clinical officers as well as some nurses. And now nursing side there was no problem, but problem was mostly in clinical side as
right,
well as management. This is when we came up with such suggestion, and we are implementing them as we are going, but the speed is quite slow, but
sure.
we hope soon we may reach some result which can be shared. And
Well, the strategy
yes,
looks wonderfully spot on. You know, just from what you've described, there clearly are challenges with teamwork in the Malawian context. And what you are trying to do is talk family medicine and talk teamwork and find ways in which you can organize it around patients, which is, and care of patients, which is wonderful. I think that's exactly the kind of thing that, and I can see from what you've talked of that I mean, there are some key outcomes that you pointed to. The CEO of the college, you know, possibility, the weekly meeting with the seed NGO, the fact that you're building a potential, you know, introduction of family medicine to different disciplines. So I think, you know, in conferences, also there's a lot of great stuff. Is there anything else that you feel shows the outcome of the work on interprofessional education, the interprofessional teamwork that you talk about?
yeah, yes, I think
I know you've said it's been slow, but these are, I mean, this is a great strategy to pursue. You obviously have your hands full doing the undergraduate, postgraduate training of in family medicine, and then to pursue this sort of interprofessional work is quite a bit.
yes.
No, thank
There
you
is
very
another
much. Go ahead, go ahead.
there is another point we have been doing since years.
Right.
It's every time we have a training or an opportunity for training, we want if we can grow together with
Mm,
the colleagues we are working with. I
yeah,
remember so far we have done joint training several times. There was a training, we have the two trainings in ultrasound scan. Every time they are there, we call also nurses as well as the clinicians. We
right,
have been having an education training from South Africa with Prof. Julia,
right,
and they've been also part of the team. We've been having a training in research with a team from America as well as our School of Public Health. We decided to call also some nurses and some clinical officers. We have a yearly training in trauma care, emergency trauma care. Every time we organize, despite the cost, the departments try to do whatever they can to support a team of nurses and clinical officers. Like If it was not the corona, in January we were supposed to have that training, but it's still postponed due to corona. So we have several opportunities. Every time we plan for something, we said, can we attract them, and what we define content based on what can be also helpful for them, not
Mm.
only for us.
Wonderful. I think you speak a philosophy, which I think is a great headline for the article we want to write. We want to grow together, and I think that is the best in quality of leadership of family medicine and teamwork. It's to be thinking about the whole team. So I think this is really wonderful. Do you have anything else to share, Prosper? We are on the hour. I hope you feel you've been able to share the ideas that you have, in terms of working in the interprofessional space. Is there anything else you'd like to share that you feel you've missed?
I think what I can share just is, which can be also the how best we can increase every time we are reflecting. I
Uh-huh.
think the first time is we have to go out of our court of medical doctors and they even look for help from our colleagues. There is always something to learn from them because we are just coming in the district, but most of us have been trained. Our initial training has been taking place in central hospitals. Some of us have been working for years in urban areas. So there is a lot to learn from those who have started their career in rural areas.
Right.
Uh, and every time to reflect how best you can fit in the system is very important because the system is very dynamic. The system from place to place, they can have some, we have the same people or the same cadre, but the way they are interacting, the dynamic which has been going on is quite different. We have to think our best to fit in the team or in the district.
Right.
And the last point is to reflect how can I grow, but I contribute also to growth of the other one. I think if we do those principles, growing, a kind of reciprocity in growing, how can you fit in, and looking for help outside there, I think the collaboration can be very strong and we can grow as family physicians because the more we build on the team, the more family medicine will be accepted and the more we can attract people.
No, thank you very much. Prosper, you're a great inspiration. I'm really chuffed at us having this conversation. We've been trying to develop what you're doing on the ground. We've been trying to develop that in Wonka, Africa, by reaching out to our colleagues, nurses, clinical officers, and other cadres across Africa, their leadership, to build the African Forum for Primary Health Care. And what we want happening is exactly what you're doing on the ground, which is working as a team, building, growing together, and practicing together, hopefully in time. So thank you very much for taking your afternoon and to share it with us. We have had people that have been on the call, and I think thank you to all of you for taking your time out to be with us and to listen to Dr. Lutala share family medicine in action in Malawi, in Africa. So thank you all very much. A copy of the recording will be on the post on profmusa.com, I think, where you found the link. And we will share that, in fact, it'll be available shortly. And we'll hope to write this up a little bit as a contribution to the African Journal of Family Medicine and Primary Health Care. I hope, Prosper, we can work on a script using this as a piece, as a piece of that, and share it wider. So to all of you, thank you for taking your time out for this afternoon, Dr. Lutala, and all of you from Shrivi Musa in South Africa. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe, be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, bro. Bye.